Hey family, welcome back to my video. Today we will see, what if Naruto gave Painfull Night to Aphrodite? I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the original author of this story for granting us permission to use it in our YouTube video. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. The author's creation and the original stories link in the descriptions. Please do check that first. Now enjoy the video. Right now we see a giant battlefield filled with a giant beast with 10 tails and 1 eye and a man with long spiky black hair who's standing on top of its head with a smirk on his face. These people are Madara Uchiha and the 10 tails. Standing below them we have a blonde man of 6 feet 2 inches wearing a bleach captain uniform with an Uchiha symbol on the back of his uniform. In one hand he's holding a sword wrapped in bandages with mouth at the top of it. In the other hand we see a spear that has the feeling of holiness. If you look close you could see that there's a snake and slug inside his uniform. This man is Naruto Uchiha, the last soldier of the Shinobi Alliance. The others were either dead or injured. Sasuke and Obito killed each other. Before he died, Sasuke gave Naruto his sword and eyes as a way for the Uchiha to live in him. His other weapons were in a cursed seal. He removed Orochimaru's soul and turned it into a seal that holds all his favorite weapons. Now it was up to him to defeat them both and end this war. Naruto. This war shall end. No more comrades or friends of mine will die today. Today you die and this time you'll stay dead, he said, pointing Samahada at him. Madara. Very well then. Prepare to die as an equal, Naruto, he said with his Madara grin. With that he ordered 10 tails to charge at Naruto, who also started to charge at them. He then jumped in the air as the beast looks up and sends his tails at him. In the air he throws Longinus at Madara and stabs him in the chest. Madara. What is this going to do to me? I'm not even in flesh. How dumb are you, boy? He said arrogantly. Naruto. Try and touch the spear, he said while doing some hand signs. Madara had done as said. When he tried he felt pain like no other. He was wondering on how the hell he's feeling pain even though he's not in a flesh body and wasn't supposed to feel pain. Madara. How is a measly spear hurting me, the great Madara Uchiha? He said without noticing the tendril controlling 10 tails break from the spear. Naruto. This spear isn't measly porcupine. It's a spear that could kill gods. So it could get rid of you even though you're dead, he said before finishing the hand signs and doing something the third Hokage was familiar with. Naruto. Shiki Fujin. With that said, the Shinigami appears behind Naruto with a hungry look on its face. Naruto. Let me absorb 10 tails, Madara, and all the chakra. In return I die and you get my soul, he said to the death god, who immediately obliged and called the other gods to help him do this, as 10 tails is the primordial of the apocalypse. Every person on the planet felt their chakra being taken, even Ashiki. Otsutsuki was affected and died as a result. Madara and 10 tails were then sucked into Naruto's body. His body started changing as he grew 10 tails that broke through his uniform, horns on his head, and a Rinne Sharingan opening in his forehead. He then put Samahada on his back and called Longinus back to him. After that the Shinigami then dragged his through Naruto's soul. He then unexpectedly pulled his hand out. Shinigami. You have done well, young one. You have truly brought everlasting peace to these lands, but I'm afraid your work is far from done. It seems as your mother's dimension needs your help now. Goodbye, Uchiha Naruto, he said to the surprised blonde. With that said, he then fell through a dimensional hole. Chapter 1. Why am I 12 again and in a new world? Third Pav. Naruto, opening his eyes, blinked, finding himself sitting in a classroom listening to some man talk about gods he didn't know about. He, looking around, scowled, spotting all of the 12-year-olds around him. This was not boding well for him. He then raised his hand. Naruto. May I use the restroom? He asked the teacher. Why yes you may, Mr. Uchiha, he said. He, getting out of his chair, walked to the bathroom. Once inside of it, he scowled, spotting his 12-year-old self staring at himself in the mirror. There were a few differences from the old 12-year-old him. For one, he was as Shinto was this age. Also, he was a battle-hardened warrior who has seen his fair share of death and war. He then blinked, hearing familiar laughter in his clothes. He without thinking reached into them and pulled out a slug and snake from them. Naruto. You two better stop laughing or I'll spank you both, he said to them both, which made them stop laughing and blush at him. Anko. All right, calm your horses and save that for later, Foxy, she said, winking while still as a snake. Tsunade. Shut up and get serious, Anko. We're in a new, unfamiliar world with different customs and beliefs than our own, she said with a vein appearing on her head and slapping Anko with her tail. Anko. All right, calm down, she said, rubbing her head with a tail. Naruto. Anyway, why'd I feel more powerful than I was as an adult? He said while putting a seal on the bathroom door. Tsunade. Remember, you did absorb the 10 tails and everyone else's chakra. At this point you should be some kind of god or something. We only kept our chakra cause we were bonded to you at that point, she said while crawling to his shoulder. Anko. Yeah, Foxy, I think me and Tsunade got even more powerful than we used to be. I feel as if I could fight all those 10 tails clones and not get tired at all, she said, slithering up his legs onto his shoulder. Naruto sighed, walked outside of the bathroom, noticing the many blushes he made appear on the females' faces as he walked by. He decided to ignore this in favor of getting back to class. Time skip. Few months later. It's been a few months since Naruto woke up in this new world, and sage to say he both hated and loved it. He loved the way he could make humans do what he want and the way he got super rich by selling Jiraiya's books, much to Tsunade's displeasure. The girls who got their human forms back posed as his guardian as he was 12 years old and their adult woman. The two would tease and take care of him like Makoto once did years ago, except the sex part. He felt happy as it had been a while since he could be a kid again. While it was all good, he did hate this world, as since he was a sage he felt nature and it felt angry. So he used his powers and started to heal it. What he didn't know was when he did that Gaia had woken up feeling rejuvenated from being healed. She saw who did it and gave him her blessing before starting to watch him while he used his powers. Right now he's in another boring class when he felt an illusion trying to mess with his mind. He pushed a minuscule amount of chakra and saw that his new teacher, who looked like a shriveled up old woman, with leathery skin and glowing eyes. Naruto. What in Jubi's name is that? He said telepathically to Tsunade and Anko. Tsunade. It's a fury from those Greek myths, Hades' personal torturers, she said while laying on top of his head. Naruto. So all of that stuff Mr. Brunner was talking about is true, he said, now excited to fight these gods, the Uchiha side of him showing. Anko. Sure as brat, now shut up and pay attention, the old hag is about to call on you, she said, wrapped around his neck. Mrs. Dodds. Mr. Uchiha, what is 40 times 120? She said, hoping to embarrass him. Naruto. 4,800. He said while wondering how to punish Anko later for calling him brat. Mrs. Dodds. Correct, she said while blinking in surprise. She then went back to teaching, silently fuming that she couldn't catch Naruto not paying attention. Naruto then went back to petting Tsunade on the head with her leaning into it as a result, and Anko getting jealous. It would be a few days later when Naruto would be listening to his MP3 player while on his way to a museum with his class, sitting beside the girl who had the biggest crush on him, ignoring the fact that she was tossing peanut butter sandwiches at Grover Underwood. It's not that Naruto wasn't friends with the boy, it's just that the boy needed to stand up for himself without he or that idiot Percy Jackson jumping in. Naruto may have been friends with Grover, but he couldn't stand Percy. When they finally arrived at the museum, Mr. Brunner led the group through the Hall of History. Naruto, spotting something that made his eyes widen, moved away from the group. It was a statue in the Japanese section of the museum. It was a statue of him fighting Jubi and Madara, holding both of his weapons. As he was touching the statue, Mr. Brunner rolled in with a smile on his face. Mr. Brunner. Ah, the statue of the hero, he said fondly. Naruto. The hero? He said confused. Mr. Brunner sad face nodding with a faint smile on his face. This statue is dedicated to the hero of the world. It is said he was born of two powerful warriors and cursed on that same night with the heavy burden of a demon. It also said that he carried this burden, even becoming friends with it, all the way to his final battle. The beast depicted in the statue is supposed to be the fused version of his demon along with 8 others. It is said he battled the great beast for 9 days and 9 nights, until finally with one last mighty swing he forced the beast inside of his sword. Samahata, I believe its name is. His sword was lost in time, but it's rumored that Samahata lies at the bottom of the ocean near the prison of the Kraken. His necklace is said to be carried around by Artemis, as a form of honoring one of the few men she'll ever respect. His clothes though were truly lost in time and none have ever seen them again. Mr. Brunner then rolled himself back out of the room, missing the gobsmacked look on Naruto's face. Naruto. How the hell am I a legend in a different dimension? He said, genuinely confused on how the hell this happened. Anko sad face snorting. It doesn't matter, Foxy. What does matter is that the mortals worship you and your heroic deeds have forever been immortalized, she said, wrapping around his neck and licking it. Naruto sad face thoughts, but who the hell even spread the deed? Naruto then sighs, walks outside, blinking, spotting what looked like a blonde-haired lady eating lunch with the class, and the idiot having the most confused look on his face. He shrugged and walked over to Nancy, who instantly started to swoon over him. Time skip. Few more months right now. Naruto was packing for summer break with Tsunade and Anko going along with him to keep a level head on his shoulders and learn more of their new abilities. He planned that he was going to explore a little, train his skills up, practice his new Biju powers, maybe slay a few monsters. Then go find Samahata, as he really missed his shark girl sword. He, walking outside the school, spotted Grover nervously talking to Percy, walked over to Grover. Naruto. All right, Grover, my man. I'm going to be heading out. Got things to do, places to be, deeds to conquer, waste to clean. You know the usual, he said, with Grover smirking as he liked Naruto due to him liking nature and their mutual love of cheese. He also likes him due to him giving off the feeling of being a man truly connected to nature and godly power. Grover, with a smile on his face, turned to Naruto and shook the boy's hand. Grover. All right, Naruto. Stay safe, and if you even need some help, just go the address on the card. Naruto. Will do, man, he said, smiling. He then turned to Percy, gained an impassive face. Naruto. Idiot, do try and stay safe this summer. Percy, hearing this, was very tempted to give Naruto the bird but decided to walk away instead due to him fearing the man who beat up 50 jocks in 5 seconds. Naruto then walked away far enough to use his speed to get home fast enough. Naruto walked inside of his home and instantly was on guard. The reason was because he felt multiple signatures in his home. He, opening his door, narrowed his eyes, spotting the many females ransacking his home. His eyes narrowing even more, was about to unleash his killing intent, when Grover came running into his home looking like he'd seen a ghost. Naruto then opened gates of Babylon and used the chains of heaven on all the women, making sure they don't get away. Naruto sensing the fear rolling off of the satyr side. Naruto. Let me guess, the idiot did something stupid and now you're here to get me help track him down. Grover. Yes, by the gods, he saw the fates cutting his string. Do you know what this means? He said, out of breath. Anko. It means we can do something fun, she said, on his head, surprising the satyr. Tsunade. No, you idiot, it means that other idiot is gonna die soon, she said, surprising the satyr even more. Grover. What the Hades? He said, confused at the talking animals on Naruto's head. Naruto. Think about it later, he said, not wanting to answer right now. He then, marching past the women, opened his closet and searched through the many different clothes he bought. Finding what he was looking for, put the clothes in Babylon and shut the closet door. Grover, somehow just now noticing the women, started to swoon. Naruto then walked out in his casual clothes. Naruto. Alright goat man, wait outside, I need to speak with these women for a minute, he said, looking at the woman very angry. Grover. Alright, I'll meet you at Percy's cabin, he said before walking out and taking a Sprite can when he left. Naruto then turned to the woman and released one of them. Naruto. Tell me why you are here ransacking my apartment, he said calmly. Time skip, Percy's cabin. Right now we see Percy, his mom Sally, and Grover in the car driving from the Minotaur when they suddenly feel someone on top of the car. They look above to see Naruto standing there with a smirk on his face. Naruto. Oi, you stupid son of a cow. I'm going to turn you into a triple cheeseburger and use your horns as toothpicks. Come at me, you damn mongrel, he said with his arms spread out. The Minotaur, hearing this, roared and charged directly at him. Naruto, with a smirk on his face, cocked his fist back and ran towards the Bullman hybrid. He then one-punched with its guts flying everywhere and turning into gold dust. He then caught a pair of horns belonging to the Minotaur. He then looked at Grover. Naruto. You owe me one, dirt boy. He then passed out, not from the Minotaur but from not sleeping for an entire year. Tsunade turns human and catches him in the nick of time before walking to the camp, ignoring the others. Grover, Percy and Sally right behind him. Chiron, shaking his head, picked up Grover, Percy and Sally to take them to camp. Chapter 2. Hera and Discovery, Third Person POV. The next day Naruto would wake up in a pair of boobs. Realizing he woke up in Tsunade's boobs pulled out into Enko's boobs. She then hugged him in her sleep. Him not being in the mood traded places with a giant plush of himself. He rubbing the sleep out of his eyes, blinked not spotting his room. Turning he groaned, spotting a girl with blonde hair and gray eyes looking over the idiot and goat boy. Getting out of the bed, he stretched his body out, before walking out of the room, ignoring the cries of wait from the blonde-haired girl. He walking around the camp scowled, spotting all of the cabins. He then spotting a group of rather not cute-looking girls heading his way narrowed his eyes. The girls reaching him had arrogant smirks on their faces as the tallest one then approached him first. Tall girl. You're one of the new kids that arrived. It's time for your initiation, she said smirking. Naruto sad face, sighing. Begone pest, I don't have time for your foolish games. If you try then you'll have to either deal with me or the two women that are running towards me, he said with his arms crossed. The girls hearing this scowled and decided to teach him a lesson. That was a very bad idea, as Naruto grabbed the hands of the first girl and crushed them. He then kicking the another girl in her stomach, made her fall to her knees, curl up, puke out blood and pass out. The last girl he simply flicked her with his finger, knocking her out and sending her 50 feet back. Naruto then walked away, not caring at how everyone was staring at him with wide eyes. Naruto then walked into the forest, closed his eyes and activated Sage mode. Animals started to surround him, some fox kits even sitting in his lap. Wood nymphs and dryads were dancing around him. The satyrs, including Grover, were now bowing lowly to him, even though he wasn't looking. The children of Demeter were swooning over him. Chiron himself walked into the clearing and was amazed at how nature was flowing through and around Naruto with such ease. As if he belonged to it. That's when he finally caught the scent of a demigod coming off of Naruto, proving him wrong that Naruto was a monster with a conscience. For some reason though, Naruto also had the smell of a very powerful godlike monster coming off of him. Naruto then opened his right eye, looked at the fox kits yipping happily at him. Opening both of his eyes, picked up one of them. He then nuzzled it, ignoring the female's attention when they gained hearts in their eyes. He, ending his nuzzling, slowly exited his sage mode, shooing the kits away, back to their mothers. He then turned to Mr. Brunner. Naruto. Alright Chiron, I'm gonna make a guess that the gods and all of that are true and that this camp is a safe haven for demigods. The idiot is a demigod, and the reason why Grover was at Yancy, along why you transferred in right around the middle of the year, he said, surprising and impressing Chiron at his intelligence. Chiron. Correct, but how did you know? He said, wondering how did he know. Naruto sad face, snorted. The illusions and mist don't work on the eyes of the mighty Uchiha. Plus all you did in class was teach us about Greek gods, so ipso facto. He said, making the centaur wonder who Naruto Uchiha really is. Chiron. Anyways, will you stay at Half-Blood? He asked, hoping to have this boy become the champion of Half-Blood. Naruto. I'll stay until Friday, then I'm out on the move, he said, crushing Chiron's hopes immediately. Chiron. All right, then once Percy wakes up all will be explained, he said, nodding. Naruto. Sure, you do that. Until then I'm gonna be working on some things like making those two women of mine very happy, he said before catching Anko, who was going to jump on his back and shove his head in her boobs. Tsunade then jumped in, cracking the entire forest ground as a result. Tsunade. Ma, Naruto, don't go walking off like that. I would punch you, but you did leave us a body pillow of yourself, she said, holding said pillow that had red lipstick marks on it. Naruto. Alright, relax yourself and I'll satisfy you later, my legendary sucker, he said to the now red-faced Sannin. He then, standing up, ran to the nearest water source, planning on transforming into Isobu to get used to the water, as he was going to get Samahata-chan back, one way or another, all the while still holding Anko on his shoulder with her going into her snake form. Without her he felt kinda naked. His necklace from Tsunade could wait until he meets Artemis, as he had no doubt in his mind that she was going to meet him one day. Time skip. 2 days later, Naruto was once again meditating, except this time he was doing so on the middle of the lake, drawing upon the natural energy in the water and tapping into the demonic chakra of Isobu and Leviathan Sage Mode. He knew this was churning the water underneath him, and was making some demonic things appear. He, hearing someone call his name, opened his right eye and blinked, spotting Annabeth Chase, giving him a sorta powerful glare. Dropping the Sage Mode, walked on the water and to the shore. Naruto. How may I help you, Annabeth-chan? He said with a charming smile. Annabeth. You never answered my question, she said with her hands on her hips. Naruto. I'm sorry, I was distracted by your outstanding beauty and didn't even hear your question. Please do me a favor and remind me of it, he said while being slapped on the head by Tsunade in her slug form. Annabeth's sad face, blushing. I asked you if you wanted to be on my team for the capture the flag came tomorrow, she asked, hoping to have this impressive boy on her team and to learn more about the mystery kid. Naruto. Depends, is idiot working with you? He said, loathing you work with the idiot. Annabeth. Yes, Percy is going to be on my team, she said, blinking. Naruto. Then no, because I don't work with idiots, and every time I see him Enko always asks me to let her eat him, he said while said snake started salivating at eating the boy. He, turning around, was about to walk back to the middle of the lake when Annabeth grabbed his hand and turned him around. Annabeth. You won't be working with him, you'll be working with me, she said while using the puppy eyes jutsu on him. Naruto. I'm immune to that jutsu as I made it, he said, smirking at her surprised face. Annabeth. I'll give you some chocolate, she said, having gotten info from Grover on his favorite food. Naruto. Deal, he said, now wanting chocolate. Annabeth. Good, she said, smiling that she knew on what to give him to make him to do anything. He walked back to the middle of the lake, feeling like he'll regret this. He ignored the giggling snake on his head, started his exercise again, ignoring the giggling water sprite swimming around him as he turned the lake into a whirlpool. The next day was the capture the flag, and Naruto wanted to get it over with so he could go on his world trip and find Samahata, as the sword was his favorite weapon. He already planned on starting with Florida. From there he would follow his instincts. He also went there as it was just super damn weird. He then saw some chameleon armor placed in front of him. He ignored the armor. Naruto. Keep the armor, I'm a trained warrior with no need for weak clunky armor. Besides, if I wanted to I could create my own armor, he said arrogantly. Annabeth. Stop complaining, Naruto, and just put the armor on, she said, quite annoyed at him calling the armor weak and clunky. Naruto. Gilgamesh, he said when a dark suit of armor appeared on him. They all gasped when it appeared, especially from the power they felt from it. The power felt worse than Dionysus when he was mad. Naruto. Like I said, I don't need that armor. I have my own armor. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to return to my thoughts until the game begins, he said to the shocked Annabeth. Before walking away, he saw the jealousy in Luke's eyes and decided to put that in the back of his head. Annabeth, on the other hand, was staring at Naruto with nothing but wonder. Finally was time for the game, and Naruto could be seen standing beside Annabeth. Annabeth. All right, Naruto. Since you're the most talented out of all of us, I want you to capture the flag. Try to do so without terribly injuring too many people, she said to the bored god of shinobi. Naruto. Yeah, whatever, let's just get this over with already, he said, yawning. Annabeth had to resist the urge to not groan at Naruto's bored response. The horn then blew, announcing the beginning of the game. Naruto, seeing this, decided to fly, used his powers from the 10 tails who came from Kagaya, who could fly naturally. He then opened his palms out and used creation of all things. Naruto. Creation of all things. Kikai beetles, death butterflies, centipedes, giant millipedes, black wasp, hellfire moths. With that, a bunch of different insects appeared around him. Naruto. All right, it's showtime. Go and do what you do, my friends, he said, pointing his finger out. The insects spread out from their location, and pretty soon people could be seen falling to their faces, being floated away by the butterflies, buried up to their necks by the centipedes, running from the millipedes, being stung by the wasp, or rolling around on the ground trying to put out blue flames. Naruto, floating over to Ares' side, spotting the flag unguarded, swooped down at Mach speed and snatched the flag. He, flying over to the Athena side, rolled his eyes, spotting Percy panting after getting his butt kicked by Clarice and her sisters. He, spotting Annabeth staring at him with amazement and a small blush on her face. He wondered why, until he remembered he releases pheromones to who he desired as a mate, and that the top of his armor wasn't even on as he removed, as he didn't need it right now. His entire upper body was visible, and probably his tattooed right arm. His upper body was covered with red marks that have been there since he was born. This was the arm where all of his war tattoos were. He, dropping to the ground, stabbed the flag into the ground and the victory horn blew. Naruto, standing up, instantly scowled, smelling something that he wasn't supposed to be. His eyes, moving to the idiot, moved his eyes slightly up and rolled his eyes. Everyone, also following his eyes, gasped. Above Percy's head was an aquamarine trident symbol. Annabeth. Oh, by the gods, she said, slightly surprised by this, though him spraying Clarice and her buddies with toilet water kinda gave it away. Then someone bowed to the idiot. RC, sad face, random camper. All hail Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon, god of the seas and earthquakes. Everyone beside Naruto then bowed. Annabeth. Why aren't you bowing? She said while giving him a pointed look. Naruto. Because even if the god of seas is his daddy, he's still an idiot of the highest degree, and I don't give a satyr's furry ass if his dad's one of the big three. Waterboy here couldn't last 5 seconds in my world. Hell, none of you could, not even Chiron, the mighty trainer of heroes, he said, scoffing. Naruto's eyes then looked to the hellhound, with everyone too distracted to see, tossed a kunai right beside the hound, made everyone blink, even the hound. Just then Annabeth got a good look at the kunai. She felt her eyes nearly pop, spotting the 3 blades and the special seal carved into it. She turned to Naruto and gasped when he was already gone in a gold flash. Naruto then appeared in front of the hellhound and released a wind-style Rasengan. The Rasengan slamming into the dog made the dog lift into the air, howling in pain. Seeing this, he decided to use the Kirin in honor of Sasuke. Naruto. This one's for you, Sasuke Teme, he said, lifting his hand in the air. Obliterate all within my path. Kuro Kirin. A massive roar was heard and people swore that they heard the hellhound whimper in fear. Annabeth, moving her head upwards, felt her jaw touch the ground as coiling high above was a dragon as black as the night, with baleful yellow eyes. It was huge. I mean, it could literally take up about 16 apartment blocks with ease. It, roaring again, launched itself down on the hellhound. Naruto appeared before Annabeth and wrapped his arms around her. Naruto. Close your eyes, this is going to be bright, he said, giving her a happy smile than his arrogant one. Annabeth, shutting her eyes tight, sunk into Naruto's embrace, just as Kirin hit and shook the entire camp. Hell, it even shook Long Island itself. Naruto. All right, you can open your eyes, he said to Annabeth, who was sniffing his chest. Annabeth and the others, doing as he said, gasped, spotting a black hole the size of a small house where the Hellhound had been, along with a wall of glass. Annabeth looking at Naruto, who was staring at the spot like it was normal to do something like that. She then noticed something floating above Naruto's head, looked up and saw that it was a pink dove with some plant in its mouth. There was also the planet Earth, a cloud in the sky, the sea, and a void in the back. Everyone gasped seeing this, except Naruto, who was realizing that his mother was a whore. Kirin. Dear Zeus, a child of Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty and eternal youth, who likes to fight and smells like a godlike monster. He's also the champion of 4 primordial gods, he said, shocking everyone, even the gods who were watching. Naruto. Oi, you talking sack of glue, I don't smell like a monster, it's the Jubi and the remnants of Madara, he said while changing his clothes into their casual form. Kirin. The Jubi, as in the great primordial god of the apocalypse, and Madara Uchiha, the man who started an entire war, he said, ignoring the insult Naruto gave him. Naruto. No, the Jubi, as in a pack of beans you'll buy online, he said with a deadpan look. Kirin. Naruto, this world of yours, it wouldn't happen to be the elemental nations, would it? He said, now realizing who this man truly is and why he has many unique abilities. Naruto. That's it. That's my home, the place I was born, the place I grew up in, the world I was trained to be a warrior in, the place I was supposed to die in. But the stupid Shinigami decided to send me here, and so help me. Kami, the next time I see that bastard of a death god, I'm gonna kill him with the primordial power of the end, he said, vowing to kill death, as weird as that sounds. He then started talking to his animal companions, ignoring the wide eyes of everyone around him, or how Kirin was stuttering about having the king of heroes in his camp. Naruto then ended his conversation and yawned. Naruto. Welp, I'm bored now, it's time for me to catch some sleep. See ya people later, he said before disappearing with his pure speed, making it look he was never there. The next day he was in his captain uniform with Excalibur Morgan at his waist in Avalon Morgan. Tsunade was in her human form, traveling with him like when he made her Hokage years ago. Anko was sleeping in the dragon summoning realm, as she needed to hibernate, or so she said. What she was really doing was turning herself into a dragon to better support him and to fly in the sky. As they were walking towards the border, they felt Annabeth running towards them. Turning around, he sighed, spotting her with an angry look on her face. Annabeth. Where are you going? She said, angry that he was leaving just like that. Tsunade. He's going out for a pack of cigarettes. You want anything from the store? She said, joking at the girl. Naruto. Yeah, you want some milk from the store? He said, joining in on the joke. Annabeth. It's not funny. You can't leave the safety of the camp. A monster will kill you, she said while scowling at their joke. Naruto. You got it flipped. If and when a monster comes near me, I'm gonna be the one doing the killing, he said, sticking his thumb in his chest with his ever-prevalent smirk on his face. Annabeth. What about Grover? She said, hoping to use friendship to make him stay. Naruto. Goat Boy has a job protecting Idiot, and there's no way I'm helping him do that, he said, loathing having to protect an idiot who reminded him of his father. Annabeth. You can't leave, the camp might fall under attack, and we'll need you, she said, still trying to use empathy on a man who lost most of it years ago. Naruto. There's Hiroshima markers all around the camp, so if I sense the camp is in danger, I'll come back and deal with it accordingly, he said while rolling his eyes. Tsunade. Naruto, hurry up. I want to go find a casino and test my luck in this dimension. The legendary sucker will be no more, she said, holding her fist in the sky with a glint in her eyes and a smirk on her face. Naruto. You'll always be the legendary sucker to me and me alone if you catch my drift, my slug queen, he said to the now red-faced Sannin. Tsunade. Whatever, she said looking away. Annabeth. I can't stop you two from leaving, can I? She said, choosing to ignore the banter the two are having. Naruto. Nope, sad face, he said, still smirking. Annabeth. Well, fine, but, she said before surprising with a hug that felt very deep. He then laughed and hugged her back while placing a Hiroshima marker on her back, feeling like she was gonna need help. Naruto. Sure, Annabeth, he said, giving her a kiss on her forehead, making her blush. He then separated from her and walked out with Tsunade with a glint in his eyes. Naruto. All right, time to get even more rich and find Samahata, he said to the slug Sannin, who agreed with him, having an excuse to go gambling with her pseudo-husband. Tsunade. Yeah, now come on Foxy, let's kill some monsters and gamble, she said excitedly. Naruto was about to respond to that when he came across an entire pack of hellhounds all foaming at the mouth and perverted Cyclops. Naruto. Well, speak of the Shinigami, he said, pulling out Avalon and starting a massacre. Tsunade. Maybe I can exercise my muscles, she said before cracking her fist and massacring the Cyclops. A day later, and Naruto and Tsunade were laughing as they bankrupt another casino. While walking on their journey, Cyclops that had decided they looked tasty. All around them more Cyclops could be seen, all holding their broken faces or some missing fingers. He then, pushing explosive chakra into his hand, punched the Cyclops in the face, causing it to explode in a shower of gold dust. He, turning to another one, spat out a large glob of lava to melt it. He, running to another one, froze it, then shattered it into pieces. The last two he sliced into tiny pieces with his wind. He, yawning, walked over to his camp. Packing everything up, he started to walk west, ignoring the multiple high-energy signatures following him. He, stopping in his tracks, turned to the sound of something crying. Entering a forest, he blinked, spotting a little girl, who looked like she had been lost in the woods for days, bawling her eyes out. Little girl. Naruto. What's wrong, little one? He said, crouching to the little girl. The girl. Daddy hurt mommy and then bad men came and took him away. Mommy won't stop bleeding and is getting cold, she said while being healed by Tsunade. Tsunade. Why are you out here in the forest? She asked, worried. The girl. I was going to get mommy some herbs like she did for me, she said, now healed but hungry. Naruto. Take me to your mommy, little one. I promise I'll heal her right up, he said, using his real smile that rarely comes out. The little girl, hearing this, popped up instantly and took Naruto to a little cottage in the woods. Naruto, spotting a blonde-haired, fair-skinned woman leaning against the wall of said cottage with a knife shoved into her stomach, shook his head. Naruto. Can you hear me? He asked. The woman. Help me, she said, relieved that someone was here to help them. Naruto then placed his hand on her and his hand started turning green after removing the knife from her stomach. Naruto yawned as the woman's age started to rewind, and the many scars covering her body, no doubt from her husband, vanished. He then, standing up, turned around and smiled at the wide-eyed little girl. Naruto. Your mommy is fine now. Just wait for her to wake up. Now if you'd excuse me, I've got to continue my journey, he said, patting her on the head. The little girl then realized she hadn't learned his name. The girl. Wait, what's your name, mister? She asked, hoping to know his name so she could find him. Naruto. My name is Naruto, don't forget it, he said before he and Tsunade vanished in a swirl. Two cards floated in her hand, one being a business card with his name, number and picture on it. The other one was a debit card that got money on an account that was filled with billions of dollars, making sure they don't run out of money for a while. He made that money with creation of all things. The girl. I'll never forget you, Mr. Naruto, she said with a smile on her face before running back to her cottage. What they never noticed was the smiling face of a woman behind a tree. Hera. What you did for that mother and child was most impressive. It seems you are the hero of legend. I'll be watching you and your girlfriend more closely, she said before vanished in a flurry of peacock feathers. Chapter 3. The king meets his mom about 3 days later, and Naruto was really starting to get bored as he had slaughtered over 1,000 monsters, including the damn lion, whose pelt he had wrapped around his shoulders. He also got banned from casinos in North America due to him and Tsunade bankrupting over 80% of them. Right now he was eating some pork after killing the Caledonian boar who was sent by Artemis to test this man and see if he was like the rest of them, and Sage to assume he wasn't. Naruto. It seems as though I finally have the attention of the gods. Sadly, it's only the moron Ares, he said, dissatisfied at having the coward of a god's attention. Tsunade. God of war, my ass. If you were to ever face him in battle, you'd wipe the floor with him, even with you wearing about 500 resistance seals, she said, actually confident he could beat him. Naruto. You know, Tsunade, you really are the wife I've never had. Perhaps one of these days I'll just go ahead and propose to you, he said to the now profusely happy Sannin, who hid it not very well. Tsunade. Really, I mean whatever, she said, looking away. He was about to laugh when he sensed something heading his way. He, turning his head, blinked, spotting a huge creature with the head of a lion, goat, and with its tail actually being a snake. Ignore Bellerophon and Pegasus. Naruto. The Chimera I hope it could handle the Sannin, he said, letting Tsunade do the work as he wanted to see how far her strength could go against the she-monster, choosing to ignore the very high power signature, low to him, watching him from not far away. 5 minutes they were both walking away with the beast burning in Amaterasu flame after being killed by the Slug Queen. They were walking by a tree when he sensed his Hirushun tag going crazy on Annabeth. He then placed another one on the tree before teleporting to Auntie M's garden gnome emporium. Vanishing in a flash of red, he appeared just in time to be shown Medusa's eyes. Naruto. So you're the mighty Medusa. Someone betrayed and turned into a monster like me, he said to the surprised Medusa. Medusa. Who are you, boy, and what do you mean betrayed like you? She said, curious on how he was betrayed like her. Naruto. When I was 4 years old, one of the villagers went up to me and told me that he'll be my friend. I believed it as I was far more naive and desperate. He then brought me to a mob who then proceeded to beat and rape me. Before any more could happen, my mother Makoto saved me and killed the villagers. It was on that day I learned that the world is a cruel place filled with pain, he said to the wide-eyed Gorgon behind him. Annabeth gasped as she was shocked how bad his childhood truly was, not knowing that was the least painful one. Medusa. How do you live with this? This pain that you felt, how did you deal with it? She asked how this man could wake up and live his life like normal. Naruto. Simple, I had therapy in the Uchiha clan when adopted. But that therapy didn't fix it all. For example, I still have flashbacks and nightmares to the incidents. Luckily I sleep with Tsunade, who comforts me in my sleep, he said to Medusa, who was realizing that this man was like her in a sense. Medusa. Perhaps you were right, boy, but tell me who would want to spend time with me? A monster who's turned hundreds of thousands into stone, she said, not really thinking anyone was gonna spend time with a monster like her. Naruto. How about me? He said before pulling out the Holy Grail itself. As soon it was out, the monsters nearby felt it and ran away, terrified at the power of God herself. Naruto. I'd like you to be my servant. Not in the slave way, but in the familiar type of way. To me you are an equal, he said, reaching his hand out for a shake to the Gorgon, who's thinking on her options. Medusa. All right, you have a deal, master, but on one condition, she said, wanting to see if he'll really hold up. Naruto. Name your condition, he said, curious on what she would want. Medusa. Tell me who you really are. I know that was the least painful one going by your eyes, so tell me your entire story from start to finish, she said, shocking him before his eyes started getting colder thinking about his past. Naruto. Fine, I'll tell you after this quest is done, I promise, he said to the smiling Gorgon. Medusa. Thank you, master, she said, smiling before shaking his hand and disappearing the process. Naruto, who was smiling as Medusa wasn't as bad as all he had to do was talk to her. He then turned to Annabeth, who was in shock hearing that his torture was the least painful one out of all of them. Naruto. Swear on the Holy Grail that you'll never tell anyone, he said, still holding his cup. Annabeth. But she was about to say before being cut off by the blonde. Naruto. I don't need people trying to help me and say crap like the villagers are just coping or some shit line that. I murdered them years ago, yet they still have an effect on me, those bastards. Plus the Holy Grail is one of the most powerful weapons in existence, and I feel better with you swearing to this instead of a river, he said while walking towards her. Naruto. Shake my hand, wise girl. Please shake if, and I'll tell you my story in a more private setting, he said to Annabeth, who nodded and shook his hand before pulling him into a surprise hug. Naruto. What's this for? He said, already knowing. Annabeth. A way to make you feel better, she said, surprising him that there are truly some good people out here in this cruel world called Earth. Naruto. Thank you for that. It felt nice. Now don't tell anyone like the idiot or Grover, he said before kissing her on the cheek, making her blush while he Kamui away. Grover. Are you all right? He said, finally coming in with Percy after having to deal with a bunch of traps Naruto's clone had pulled out to make sure they were busy. Annabeth. I'm fine, come on, let's get moving again, we have to find the Master Bolt before war is started, she said, still blushing deeply from the kiss while rubbing her cheek. Right now we see Naruto back at the tree with Tsunade standing there, eating some dango. They then continued to their camp, and after arriving just started to go at it with each other, all the while Medusa was watching in her spirit form and enjoying the show of two rabbits having fun with each other. 3 hours later, Naruto walked out shirtless in his casual pants while she was resting in the tent. Naruto. Whoever you are, you have 5 seconds to reveal yourself before I let the flames of Amaterasu burn everything in my path, he said, already having his M's activated, just waiting to see. Nothing happened at first, until a woman slowly walked out of the bushes, revealing Aphrodite in her Kushina form. She had the happiest smile on her face for some reason. Naruto, spotting her, deactivated his M's and was looking at her boredly. Naruto. Oh, it's you, the whore. I thought it was someone worth my time, he said, ignoring the scowl appearing on her face. Aphrodite. Aren't you glad to see me? She said, thinking that her son was gonna hug her and be happy at her appearance. Naruto. I'm not, and wouldn't be even if you were holding my necklace and Samahadaheim, he said, making her heart become more filled with deep regret. Aphrodite. Why aren't you happy to see your mother? She said, confused on why he just won't accept her love. Naruto. My mother's dead. She's been dead since I was 6 years old after her eldest, to save my and Sasuke's life, killed her along with the dumb Uchiha clan. After that I was tortured and abused by the villagers until one day I activated my power that made me the king of heroes and god of shinobi. I also learned who my father truly was and how you were still alive, he said to the now fully sad deity. She used her power over love to see how much he had for her, but there was only 1% left. She then wondered by what he lament on the father part, as Minato was a human and nice guy. Aphrodite. You think I wanted to abandon you? The moment you were born, the moment I saw you, I felt you were gonna be a special child of mine, she said, now crying. Naruto. You just don't get it, do you? I hate you. Any and every excuse you'll make won't fix what happened to me years ago, though I'll thank you for abandoning me. If you didn't, I would have been weaker than I am now, he said before ripping one of her eyes out and putting it in Kagaya's snow dimension after putting it in a plastic bag. Aphrodite. Why would you do that? She said while holding her ichor bleeding socket. Naruto. Simple, until you prove to me that you're worthy of my forgiveness, you'll never get your eye back. To make sure you don't replace or make a mechanical one, I put a seal made from the Jubi's chakra there that makes sure it can't be replaced or healed, making sure you'll look like Odin forever. Even if you take a different form, you'll always have one eye to show people your failure, he said to the shocked love goddess, now realizing this punishment is permanent until she proves herself to him. Naruto. Don't worry though, you're not the only one I hate. I hate not only you but Zeus for his stupidity, Ares for his arrogance, Hercules for his arrogance, and many of the other gods for not claiming their children. I bear no ill will towards Hera, Athena, Persephone, Artemis, Hades, and Hermes. I may be arrogant but not that arrogant, he said, acknowledging his faults but not doing anything with them yet again. If you saved the world from total Armageddon, neither would you. Aphrodite at that moment realized her relationship with him will be far more difficult than she thought it would be, with her being one eye less. And a son who wouldn't care if she faded away for all he cares. Naruto then looked at the forest and pointed his hand at it. Naruto. Look and see with your one eye at a drop of my power. Burn out. Amaterasu. He said with black flames shot, and started to consume the forest, and the cries of many monsters could be heard as they were burned alive. He then started laughing at their pain and misery. Naruto. Burn mongrels burn, he said, laughing like a madman. He then cancelled the flames, knowing all the monsters were dead and being absorbed by his essence, making sure they don't come back. He then used his wood release to fix the forest and make it better than it was before after burning the pollution out. Naruto. Wood release secret technique. Nativity of a world of trees. With that said, he made an entire forest without hand signs. Naruto. Now go away and sort out your shit. I have a sexy Sannin to get back to, he said, walking away, not noticing the animals that were surrounding his tent like he was some kind of god to them. With that, she vanished in tears and blood away in rose petals. 3 days later, Naruto was at the top of the Lincoln Memorial, his yellow eyes focused on the many people around him, with Tsunade sleeping on his head after 2 days of sex. He was in his casual clothes. He felt animals, satyrs, nymphs, monsters, dragons, phoenix, and spirits following him around like some god. At first he had thought about killing them, but then decided that he didn't want to spill innocent blood if he didn't have to. He was also ignoring the stupid monster all around him. His eyes then moved to the hellhound at his feet, acting like a puppy around him. He killed the others knowing Kronos sent them to kill him. He kept this one as he found it injured and healed it, and she became his pet as a result. Naruto. Come on girl, go to the Fox dimension and learn something from them, he said with her, walking through a portal. After it was closed, he then dodged a Hydra head going for him. He then looked down to see the Hydra hissing at him. He then activated M's. Naruto. I'm going to make you pay for that, he said before pulling out Excalibur Morgan and going transparent Susanoo, with Excalibur growing as well. The Susanoo with the movement of Naruto brought the giant blade down on the Hydra, slicing off all of its heads. He then jumped up and slashed down with Excalibur Morgan, incinerating the Hydra due to the Jubi's blood being stained on both the sword and its sheath. Avalon. Naruto. You'll have to try harder, Kronos, as a weak Hydra is nothing compared to the might of a rampaging Biju, you damn mongrel, he said. Before walking away, still ignoring all the things following him, he then blinked, feeling a pull from Annabeth once again. Sighing, he flashed to her location just in time to catch a fireball from ugly snake woman. Naruto. Echidna, I suggest you take your children and move along because I'm really not in the mood to deal with you right now, he said, having things to do. Echidna. So you're the one accompanying the slut who killed my daughter, she said, not knowing that said slut was right there, awake and now furious at being called that. Tsunade. How dare you call me that? I'm no slut, you two-time snake whore. I know you cheated on Typhon with Ortherus, she said before charging to the mother of monsters, who was a little afraid of her strength since the ground was shaking and cracking as she kept running towards her. After the battle, we see Echidna all bloody and bruised on the floor with her brood incapacitated on the floor. During the battle, Naruto was flirting with Annabeth, who was enjoying the king's compliment and his way of looking at life. It's a cruel way but realistic and pragmatic view on life. His view is that in reality, true peace, where everyone was happy without fights or wars, was a fool's dream. Something unreachable. There was darkness in everyone, and when brought to the light, it turned the person ugly. He sought to rule with power over everyone as compassion to him was weak. No human in this dimension or weapons could really challenge him at all, so he thought becoming a dictator to them by turning democracy into dictatorship over time was easy. All he had to do was say the right to the mass of sheep and they'll believe you. Naruto. I tried to warn you, but now you must suffer the punishment. Chibaku Tensai. He said with the mother of all monsters being shot into the sky with her brood. Huge chunks of earth started to float into the air, along with metal and some water. Naruto then pushed it into the sky and made it go to space, making Earth have a second moon for eternity. People across the world were stunned by the sight of two moons in the sky. The tides got larger as a result of this and the nights got clearer as two moons made. Surfers across the world were very happy as they could ride the waves more effectively. Naruto. Now look at this. I've done something most heroes dream of doing, he said to the confusion of others except the daughter of Athena. Annabeth. You've left a permanent mark on the world. You've done something Hercules himself failed to do. This symbol of yours will last long after the end of humanity. She said in awe that he could even make a moon. Naruto. Correct my bookworm. You really need to learn to stay calm, babe. I can't have you summoning me for any reason, he said before both he and Tsunade disappeared in thin air, much to her displeasure. They both teleported back to the Lincoln Memorial and walked past the burning heads of the Hydra. Naruto. It's about time for another god to make their presence known, he said, anticipating another god appearing to them. He then heard the voice of a certain trickster. Hermes. Can't wait for what? He said, laughing at Naruto's blinking face. Apollo. Yeah, wait for what? He said, laughing. Naruto. So it's the sun god and the messenger god, he said, relieved to have gods that actually were likable. He then walked over to Hermes and shook hands with the god, who smiled back at him. Naruto. Why are you two here? He said, wondering on why they're even here. Hermes. We're here to tell you that Ares is coming for you, apparently. Aphrodite kicked him to curb and decided she wanted true love. Also, Zeus is not happy with what you did to his pets, he said, concerned over this as this demigod was far more powerful and fun than the others. Naruto. Ares is weak against me. As for old lightning ass, he can go kick rocks for all I care, he said, making the two gods laugh. Apollo. I'm here to tell you that you've made my little sister Artemis more powerful as you made in another moon. In fact, I think you've brought back Selene, as the other moon needs to be pulled by the other moon goddess. I thank you for giving her more power to protect herself more well, he said, patting the blonde's shoulder. Naruto. Whatever. Her getting more power was just an after effect of this. Also, stop looking at Tsunade like that or I'll castrate you, he said, looking at the now pale as Hades god who got the message. Apollo. Yup, won't do it again, he said, giving his thumbs up before vanishing in a flash of light. Naruto and Tsunade then proceeded to walk out of the memorial, ignoring when Hermes then vanished in a gust of wind. They then walked to an empty clearing in a forest. Naruto. Alright, it's time to finish training in mode, he said to her, nodding. Tsunade. You sure it's a good idea to train in the forest rather than those dimensions you showed me? I mean, it would be more intelligent and no one would be able to find out what your moves are, she said, pointing out all the prows to Naruto. Naruto. Fine, let's go, he said, annoyed at her much at her amusement. Yomotsu Hirasaka. He then opened a jagged portal up in the middle of the clearing. With that, they walked in that portal to the dragon summoning realm. Naruto. I always forget how breathtaking this place is, he says before jumping off the edge with Tsunade, now very scared as there is no ground in this world. He then started to fly. As he started to fly, he saw the other dragons start flying with him. He then flew to the boss cave that was in the center of the world. Naruto. Alright, we're here, he said as the other dragons flew away, as Tiamat was terrifying to them as she never let anyone in the cave while in mating season unless your name's Naruto. Naruto. Tsunade, I think you should find Enko, as Tiamat is very aggressive this time of year, he said to the Sannin, who agreed and ran on to a dragon. She then rode him to Enko. With that, Naruto walked into the cave. Naruto. Tia. Tia, come out. It's me, Naruto. He said, to which immediately he saw a dragon sitting there waiting for her mate. Tiamat. Ah, Naruto, my favorite summoner, she said while hugging his face into her chest. Naruto. I'm your only summoner, he said, enjoying this. Tiamat. That's what makes you so special. Also, why are you in such a young body? She said with her eyes turning heart-shaped without him knowing. Naruto. Went through a portal and it changed my body to what I needed it to be for my goals. So you gonna put me down now, he said. Tiamat. Nope. You're in this young body that needs to be taught by Mama Tiamat. Plus I'll have you take my virginity that I was saving for after that war. She said happily before walking off to her bed, still holding him. He wasn't seen for 2 days and moaning could be heard from the cave. Chapter 4. King of Heroes vs. Hercules. A few days later, after mating Tiamat, and Naruto was making his way towards where he sensed Annabeth, Grover and the idiot. He pushing open the door to the restaurant blinked, finding the three sitting across from Ares. He couldn't help but let a pleased smirk appear on his face spotting this. He walking past the waitress, leaned on the seat Ares was in. Ares saw him and snarled at the boy who made him lose his favorite lover and toy. Ares. Who you calling a wannabe? He said, now standing up and staring down at Naruto with his red eyes being shown through the glasses. Naruto. Obviously the Terminator reject right in front of me, he said, still smirking at Ares, now turning red with anger and fury at this brat making fun of him, the god of war. Ares then stormed out of the diner like a baby while Naruto was laughing at his plight before sitting where he was. Naruto. I love taunting people, he said, now getting back to his regular demeanor. Excuse me ma'am, I like to order some grub, bring it to me please, he said, now acting like a king with the waitress blushing and going to do that. Naruto. So what did the wimpy war ask you to get? He asked, curious on why Ares would tell them to. Annabeth. You should stop taunting him like that, Naruto, he could kill you, she said, worried for his safety. Naruto. Greater beings have tried and failed to kill me, babe. I've absorbed 3 of them, he said, surprising her that he's fought beings greater than the gods and won. She then thought about it and realized that 10 Tails and Madara were 2 he absorbed. Who's the 3rd one? Naruto. Besides only people who fear him respect him, he said while drinking some coffee. Annabeth. I guess that makes sense. Anyway, we're going to a water park to get Ares' shield as he left it behind. In exchange we get a ride to the west, she said, giving him the details while he got a plate of food and devoured it in 30 seconds. After finishing he gave the lady a tip of $400. Naruto. Cool. It's probably a trap since he could just do it himself. Why would he care about you proving yourself when he could just trick you? I have to go as I have things to do, he said with sarcasm on his voice before leaving as he felt someone teleporting in nearby. He then walked out of the diner and saw 2 figures in the distance. The figures saw him and proceeded to bow at his feet. He then looked at them with a gaze of not a man but a king. Naruto. Tell me why you 2 are here. You have something to report, my loyal subjects, he said to the now blushing duo. Master, we're here to report that your company Caspule Corp has bought Amazon for $10 billion and Disney for $200 billion, barely a dent in our finances. The media are still dealing from your brilliant display of power over making another moon. You have the business and entertainment world at your feet, she said, praising him at his feat of business superiority over them. 2. Yes, and Triumvirate Holdings are still carrying out your business as usual, funding the wars. Those 3 Roman brats falling to your knees after your display of power. Luckily they gave you a trade as a way for you not to kill them. Medea for you and for them some capsules of limited edition, she said while admiring her master. Naruto. It's good, after all Medea has proved valuable in my efforts, along with giving her some love from myself, he said while smirking on the love he meant. It was both emotional and physical. Naruto. Anyways, continue your work and I'll reward you too with anything you want. After all, you're my servants and thus my family, he said while giving both now profusely blushing woman head pats as a mini reward. Naruto. Now go, my favorite servants, and continue your work for my rise to the top, he said to the servants, who proceeded to teleport away with determined look on their face. He then proceeded to fly to the water park as he felt the tag on her back go wild again. He sighed and teleported to the front of the park. He then walked through the fence and proceeded to watch as Annabeth and Idiot were about to crash to the ground. He then rolled his eyes and opened a Yomotsu Hirosaka portal near them. He then stuck his hand in it and grabbed Annabeth before Percy could. Naruto. Seriously, babe, this entire thing smelled prank, and you, the idiot and goat boy, walked right into it, he said, looking down at the wide-eyed Annabeth. He then started to walk on water like Jesus did years ago and placed Annabeth down on the ground. He then turned to Grover. Naruto. Goat boy, are the monsters still following me like lovesick puppies? He said with a neutral expression. Grover sniffed the air and gained wide eyes. Grover. Why, yep, there's like a bunch following you, he said, scared. Naruto. Good. Now prepare to see why I'm called the King of Heroes, he said before opening the gate, letting the monsters pour in. Gates of Babylon. The three were wide-eyed at seeing all the weapons. They saw weapons from famous heroes and gods of other pantheons. The monsters were now terrified as they felt the divine nature of some of the weapons. Naruto. Prepare to die, mongrels, he said, with the weapons firing at the monsters, killing them immediately and painfully. The monsters were turned into Swiss cheese and were absorbed by Naruto, who was smirking directly at the gods through Hephaestus TV. Naruto. I shall tell you a piece on who I truly am. I am the reincarnation of the first hero in history, King Gilgamesh of Uruk, he said, to the shock of everyone watching. Naruto. That is what happens. Ares, you trick my babe into something like this again and I'll be taking over the mantle of God of War. Oh, and Zeus. Come and bite me, bitch, he said, flipping Ares and Zeus off before destroying the TV, cutting the transmission. Naruto. Or maybe God of Destruction. I've always liked destroying things both physically and emotionally, he said to the shocked Annabeth. Annabeth. Wait, you're Gilgamesh's reincarnation. Does that mean the Babylonian gods exist? Do other mythologies exist? What god made this world? She said, intrigued on this discovery. Naruto. Most of the Babylonian gods have faded away due to their names being lost forever and their stories being destroyed. Only people like Ishtar, Ereshkigal, Tiamat, Nergal, and a couple more survived through the ages. The other questions will be answered later, he said before teleporting them to a truck that was going to Vegas. Back on Olympus, Zeus and Ares were angry as they were disrespected by this unruly brat who happens to be the reincarnation of Gilgamesh himself. Zeus. Hercules, go and kill the golden turd, he said to Hercules, who was now a god. Aphrodite, who was wearing an eye patch, gained a wide eye. Apollo. I wouldn't do that, father, he said to Zeus, who looked enraged that one of his sons try and talk to him like that. Zeus. Why not? He said, wanting to kill him. Apollo. Because Hercules will fall to this boy. When I see this boy, I get the feeling of pure fear. The fear that he could destroy this entire world if he truly wanted to. He said to the surprise of the others that this boy could potentially destroy the world if he truly wanted. Hera heard this and decided to put her hat in this situation. Hera. Send the brat to face this man. I want to see the outcome of this, she said while ignoring Hercules' glare. Athena. Yes, send Heracles to fight him. I want to see the power this boy keeps away, she said, keen on the power of the boy who has made her favorite child fall in love. Zeus. It's been decided then. Hercules, kill that bastard and you'll gain your place among the Olympians, he said while sounding like a giddy child. Hercules. Gladly, he said while smirking. He then jumped from Olympus to Naruto's location. Ares was smirking, thinking that this unruly brat will finally fall to a god's feet. Aphrodite was very worried for Naruto. Hera planned on watching the fight closely. Artemis planned on watching it with her hunters, wanting to see if Naruto was really the hero he was supposed to be. Naruto was then seen walking in the woods when suddenly Hercules comes jumping in with his axe sword. The jump makes a giant cloud of dust. When the dust clears, we see Naruto holding the sword with one hand. Naruto. So they sent the great hero, Hercules. Perhaps you might be the challenge I'm looking for in this world, he said before throwing the sword at Hercules, who lands it on one knee. Hercules. I'm going to teach you respect, boy, he says while snarling at him. Naruto. Says the guy who beat his music teacher to death because he was too slow. Fuck you, hypocrite, he said to the now enraged Hercules, who got and started to charge at Naruto, who moved to the left from the punch. Naruto. Too slow, he said, infuriating the god even more. Hercules' swinging was bent over when Naruto punched him in the stomach. He, standing back up, tried to punch Naruto again. Naruto, ducking under said punch, kicked Hercules in the chin. Hercules, growling, punched the ground. Naruto, spotting the cracks heading his way, stomped on the ground and literally split the earth open. Hercules, stopping himself from falling into the ground, charged towards Naruto, who jumped over his reckless charge and kicked him in the back of the head. Hercules, growling, tossed his shield at Naruto. His eyes widened when Naruto caught the shield, spun around, and tossed it back at him with greater force. Hercules, crashing into a tree, growled. His eyes widened when Naruto appeared in front of him and started to beat him like he stole something. He then grabbed his fist, thinking he got the upper hand. What he didn't notice was the explosive tag that was on his sword. Naruto. Boom, he said boredly. Hercules is then sent flying back far. When he landed, he saw Naruto, who was looking down at him with boredom in his eyes. Naruto. Aren't you supposed to be some kind of god? He said, intentionally insulting him. Hercules. I am a god, he said, roaring at him like a beast. Naruto then heard this, kicked him in the stomach and ripped off one of his arms, making him howl in pain. Naruto. No, you're just a spoiled little brat that needs a reality check, he said, smirking at his pain. Naruto. Lucky for you, dumb ass, I got just what you need. He then punched the shit out of Hercules, sending him flying backwards. He, flashing in front of Hercules, kicked the god into the air. Naruto, appearing above Hercules, punched him in his remaining arm. This caused Hercules to spin. Naruto, summoning one of his black rods, stabbed it into Hercules' hand. He then, connecting a chain to the end of said rod, slammed Hercules down into the ground. He then sent a jolt of lightning down the chain, causing Hercules to scream in pure pain. Naruto, whipping the chain, forced Hercules into the air once again. Naruto, summoning even more chains, sent them forward, piercing Hercules everywhere. He then set the chains on fire with Amaterasu fire, making the god go through even more torture. Hercules. PP, please make it stop, he said, now begging. Naruto. No, he said coldly as Hercules burned alive in complete agony. He stood there completely satisfied at his pain and walked away with Hercules strapped to the ground in agony and pain, unable to die. Naruto. Oh, what a wonderful life, he said before walking through a portal. The gods watching this were shocked. Hera was pretending to be shocked, but was really very happy that Hercules had just gotten his ass handed to him. Apollo was fighting every urge in his body to not burst out laughing. Spotting Hercules looking like someone's puppet, Dionysus couldn't wait to tell the camp what he had just seen. Hermes was doing the same as Apollo. Athena was wondering if she should have sex with Naruto or not. Artemis with her hunters was staring at what had just been done to Hercules with wide eyes. She, turning to her second in command, could see the shock and awe in her eyes. Ares was literally foaming at the mouth, spotting his brother hanging suspended in the air by chains, looking like he had just been destroyed. Poseidon was wondering if he should be worried about his son or not. Demeter was wondering if Naruto ate oats. Hestia, tending to the fire, was fascinated at the pure power coming off of Naruto. Aphrodite was astonished at how brutal, how powerful, how fucking sexy her son was. Zeus was doing the same as Ares and was already planning on sending someone on a quest to save Hercules. Naruto was sitting at his camp reading a book when he felt someone walk in the camp. He walked out of his tent and saw a woman with black hair standing outside it with a smile that reminded him of someone. Naruto. Who are you? He said while being prepared for the worst. Nyx. I'm Nyx Primordial of the Night, she said, surprising him. Naruto. Why is the Primordial of Night here? He said, confused. Nyx. Is there somewhere a little less open? She said, wanting to talk in private. Naruto. Wood release, 4-pillar house technique, he said while tapping the ground with his foot. A mansion made out of wood then appeared behind them with an Uchiha clan symbol on it. He then led her to the mansion. He sat on a comfy chair while she was in front of him. Naruto. Now what do you want? He said, kinda annoyed. Nyx. I want you to make sweet love with me, she said before going nude and sitting on his lap. Naruto's brain was trying to restart, but his dick was standing to full attention. He then heard a voice in his brain telling him to tap it now. Naruto. It would be my honor, he said while smirking. Nyx, smiling, then pounced on Naruto and the sound of clothing ripping could be heard. The next morning Naruto was laid out in the middle of his bed, Nyx lying on top of him. Naruto's eyes shooting open blinked, finding Nyx still on top of him. His movement must have woken her up as she opened her eyes and stared into his cruel yellow eyes. Nyx. Good morning. Yours was way better than Erebus has been, she said while drawing circles on his chest. Naruto. I thank you for the compliment, but why are you still here? Aren't you supposed to be gone since you're the Primordial of the Night? He said while fondling her. Nyx. I can leave anytime I want, and right now I don't want to leave, she said, giggling at him. Naruto. Why? He said, wondering why she would want to stay. Nyx. Has been waiting for you to arrive for a while. The mere thought of you makes my head go wild in ways I haven't had in ever, she said, wrapping her arms around his neck and gaining tiny hearts in her eyes. Naruto. We just met yesterday, he said, deadpan. Nyx. No, you met a construct of mine back in the elemental nations. I believe she was named Hinata, she said to his shock and horror, as Hinata was a yandere that he had a relationship with for years. He even got her pregnant with twins before the war ended. Naruto. You're Hina Heim. Nyx. She was a construct of me, she said while holding him in her arms even more tightly than before. Naruto. What happened to her after the war? He said, wondering how she died. Nyx. She lived a long life and raised the twins we had before she died in her sleep without ever taking another lover after you. She was lonely in the end though, she said, smiling and rubbing his cheek. Naruto. At least she lived a long life, he said, fine with it. Nyx. Yes, but once she died she rejoined me and I had to sort through the memories and feelings. I kept the ones about you and our children sacred to my heart. It's so good to be able to touch your face and know that you're there, she said while now sitting on him. Naruto. Good for you, my gluttony queen, he said, rubbing her cheek, which made her blush. Nyx. I know that you're gonna have a harem, Naruto-kun, and I want to be part of it. I need to be the one who chooses on the sluts that are allowed in this with you, she said, laying on his chest with her eyes going hard-eyed again. Naruto. All right then, wait, don't you have a husband? He said, not concerned. Nyx. Me and Erebus were never married, it was just a few hookups. I don't know why they thought we were, but we aren't, she said while scowling on being married to a person like Erebus. Naruto. Good, now I'll claim you for myself and myself alone, he said while getting a boner inside of her, making her moan loudly. Naruto. Are you ready to begin on round 25? He said while squeezing her ass. Nyx. Damn right I am, she said while smirking. The two then had sex for a few more days without stop. Chapter 5. Destruction versus War. A little while later and Naruto was sitting on a beach waiting for his bae, Idiot and Grover to arrive. Nyx was in the mansion sleeping with an Agio expression after the sex ended. His eyes then shifted when Annabeth, Grover and Percy all appeared, with Percy holding the master bolt. Naruto wasn't shocked to see him holding it, because he knew that it was in the pack the water boy had gotten from Ares. Naruto had let it proceed mainly because he wanted to kick the god of war ass anyway. He standing up, counted down in his head before said god arrived. Sure enough, Ares appeared and somehow not noticing him talked to Percy, Annabeth and Grover. He then summoned a boar to attack the three. Naruto stomping his foot created a huge hand of sand and crushed the boar before it could even move. Suddenly all eyes turned to him. Naruto. So the wannabe god and the cry-baby titan have teamed up. Can't say I wasn't expecting it, he said with a smirk. Ares. Shut up, you bastard. I've been waiting to kill you after you made Aphrodite leave me and injured my brother. You're dead meat, he said before pulling his sword out. Naruto. Come at me, you rabid dog, he said smirking and removing his shirt. Ares roaring charged at Naruto, who let the Rinnegan and M's bleed into his left and right eye respectively. He dashing towards Ares, clashed fist with him, sending a powerful shockwave across the beach. Ares swinging with the sword in his other hand, growled when Naruto countered it with Madara's gunbai. This made a metal clang ring out. Naruto. Perhaps you can make my heart start pumping and give a good fight or Zeus will be losing his son, he said with bloodthirsty smirk. Ares growling tried to force Naruto to move, but Naruto didn't budge. Naruto shocking Ares and making the watching gasp, literally grew 2 arms and hands out of his body. Naruto. Shoten. Crystal encampment wall. Eyes nearly popped out of sockets when a huge wall of crystal literally formed in front of Annabeth, Grover and Percy. Ares hit the crystal but was dumbfounded when the damage simply repaired itself. Ares then got frustrated and roared at the wall, shattering it as a result. Once this was done, Naruto jumped back and used a technique he made himself. Naruto. Water, lightning, fire style. XYZ Dragon Jutsu. He then unleashed an absolutely gigantic dragon that ripped up the very ground around it and made the very air tremble as it barreled towards Ares. Ares rolling to the left watched as the dragon soared out over the ocean and exploded into a bright light. He snarling charged towards Naruto with his sword once again. Naruto laughing swung with his gunbai and actually managed to knock the sword out of Ares' hands. Naruto laughing jumped into the air and caught the sword he had just knocked out of Ares' hand with his third hand. He then turned his fourth arm into a cannon. Naruto. Take this, old yeller. Fire style. Flight of the blazing dragon jutsu, he said while smirking at Ares' face. He then unleashed an unholy torrent of flames from his mouth that literally turned all of the sand it touched into glass. Ares with wide eyes tried to dodge this attack, but was hit directly in his chest. This caused the god of war to cry out in pure pain. Naruto, ending the jutsu, dashed forward and slammed his gunbai into Ares' side. Once Ares bent over from the force of the attack, kicked the god of war in the face, making the man lean back. Naruto of course used this opportunity to slash the man across the face with his own sword. Ares screamed in pain as his ichor actually spilled into his eyes. Naruto kicking the man laughed as he landed in the ocean. He then summoned his Susanoo in its humanoid form. Naruto. Yasaka Magatama, he said, standing with his 2 additional arms going away. Suddenly Ten Tomo appeared and launched at Ares, who was forced to scream in pure agony as his body was literally burned from the inside out. Naruto looking bored coated the sword of Ares in demonic chakra and tossed it at the dog. The blade lodging into Ares made the man scream as the demonic chakra burned into his body. Ares ripping his sword out growled and changed his sword into a spear. Ares. Take this, you little jackass, he said while charging towards him. Naruto, spotting the electricity coming from the spear, smirked and blurred through more hand signs, and soon the beach was filled with the sound of crackling electricity. Naruto was now holding a Chidori to their shock as only a child of Zeus possesses. Naruto. Allow me to show you what lightning looks like, he said while looking up at the sky. He then surging chakra through his body made the Chidori gain intensity. Naruto nearly at Ares, spun in and with his elbow snapped the spear in half, shocking Ares. Naruto, then spinning again, kicked Ares towards the water once more. Once the man hit the water, Naruto tossed the Chidori into the air and watched as it grew with the charges in the air and formed mighty clouds above him. Naruto, laughing, turned to look Annabeth directly in the eyes. "Naruto, don't cry," he said to her confusion. The cry of thunder was then heard and actual rain started to pelt the part of the beach not behind a barrier. Naruto lifting up his right hand. "Naruto, let's see how this feels, dog," he said before snapping his right hand, summoning red lightning. It then struck where he was standing. Ares, getting out of the ocean, smirked, thinking that it was over, when suddenly a searing pain could be felt coming from his right hand. He, looking at said appendage, gained wide eyes as he no longer had a right hand. All that was there was a bleeding stump. Ares was in shock, wondering how this was possible, when suddenly Naruto's taunting laughter could be heard. Annabeth, the other two, also hearing this laughter, gained wide eyes, wondering where Naruto was. Hell, some of the gods watching were wondering where Naruto was. Suddenly the air started to spark, and these sparks slowly formed a face. Annabeth gained wide eyes, spotting Naruto's face laughing in the air. "Naruto, I told you to not cry and you didn't. Good job. I've become one with the storm of my creation and made it my playground." Ares then blanched at this, along with others, including the gods, who were terrified as this reminded them of Urano's a little too much. Naruto. Now then, back to the fall of a god. The sparks then dispersed and Ares cried out in pain as a huge slash appeared across his back. He cried out again when another slash appeared on his left leg. Ares, picking up the sand, covered himself with it. "Ares, I just found a way around your attacks," he said, smirking. "Naruto, man, you're dumb. Fool, that sand is soaked with water, and even if it wasn't, it's raining, dipshit," meaning that the sand would quickly become soaked, or wash off. Ares gained wide eyes as if figuring this out. He had no time to do anything else as he was launched clear out into the ocean, and once he actually hit the water, he lit up like a Christmas tree. Ares was screaming out in pure agony as currents coursed through his body. "Percy, what the heck?" he said, confused on what was going on. "Annabeth, even the ocean has an electric charge right now, and since it is after all water, Ares is in a world of pain unlike anything anyone has ever been put in," she said, realizing the genius of this powers. "Naruto, correct, my favorite bookworm," he said to the now blushing girl. The gods were shocked watching this battle between gods. Hera was simply shocked out of her mind, spotting the man she was quickly becoming. Smitten with kicking her son's ass with ease. Aphrodite was trying to stop the perverted thoughts flooding her mind, spotting Naruto easily kick her ex-boyfriend's ass with the practice and ease of a first grader. Hell, he was kicking Ares' ass like it was just a simple training exercise. Athena was nodding to her decision to have sex with Naruto, as the man was proving himself to be very capable in battle and his intelligence was beyond any mortal she had ever seen. Apollo was watching Naruto move and was amazed at how much it resembled a dance, a deadly dance at that. Hermes did not envy Ares at all and was honestly already picturing Naruto's ascension to godhood. He couldn't stop the smirk that appeared on his face if he tried, as he could already feel how drunk he was going to get from that party. Poseidon was happy that his son didn't have to fight anymore, but was also worried because he could tell that Percy had a thing for Athena's daughter, which would not end well. Zeus was stewing in his anger as what Naruto was doing shouldn't be possible and only he should be able to do. Dionysus, broadcasting this battle to the camp, was starting to like Naruto more and more. Artemis, broadcasting the battle to her hunters, couldn't believe the power Naruto had at his disposal, or that Naruto was actually facing a god in battle. Hestia, tending to the fire, was making plans to lose her virginity to Naruto, as he was too damn sexy for her to resist. Hephaestus, watching Naruto kick Ares like a low-down dirty dog, smiled, already liking this kid and thinking of meeting him. The other gods were simply shocked at what they were seeing. Ares then climbed out of the ocean, now missing an entire arm and furious that a brat had beaten and humiliated him so thoroughly. Ares. You little brat. It's time I stopped playing games with you, he said, glaring at Naruto. He then roared and became shrouded in a bright light. Annabeth. Cover your eyes, he's going into full god mode. Percy and Grover quickly shielded their eyes and even turned away. When the light finally died down, Ares was now standing there in a different form and completely healed from any injuries Naruto had given him. Naruto's eyes then began to turn dark red. His back had started to bleed. A crown of thorns then appeared floating over his head. He then grew 10 tails on his back. Everyone there was confused as this was a new symbol that had never appeared before. He then grew a black aura that felt both holy and unholy. Naruto. You know, Ares, you messed with the wrong person, he said before flying up to the air as the world had started to shake at the power being felt. Naruto's body then started to change even more as 10 tails grew out of his body, 2 massive horns grew on his head, Rinne Sharingan opening in his forehead. On his back 2 massive white and black archangel wings grew on it, much to the alarm of Ares and the other gods. He then summoned his lance of Longinus, which radiated an aura of a true god. Naruto. Behold the face of the god of destruction and your death, Ares, he said to the scared god. Ares. You can't kill me, brat, no matter what you do to yourself, he said cockily to the annoyance of the others. Naruto remained silent and vanished, and Ares was hunched over from the sheer power behind Naruto's shockwave punch to his stomach. He was then launched into the air by a finger toss from Naruto. One of Naruto's tails then grabbed the god by his ankles and slammed him back down, slamming him into the ocean. Naruto then pointed his hand at the ocean and waved it lightly. Jaws literally scraped the ground when the very air and the water froze, turning into a giant building that looked like it could belong to some long-lost god. Ares inside of said temple was trying to stop himself from shivering at how cold it was. His eyes widened when Naruto appeared inside of the ice with that same impassive look on his face. Ares growling punched the ice but gained wide eyes when he didn't even dent the structure. He then heard Naruto's voice all around the temple saying in a flat tone, Naruto. This ice is beyond the power of mortals and, to be frank, beyond the power of gods. This ice was created with the very power of a primordial goddess, and nothing short than a primordial can break free of this temple, he said with an impassive look on his face. Ares, hearing this, lost all color in his face, and the smell of shit tainted the air. Naruto smelt the shit and decided to punish him for staining the temple with gross shit. Naruto. Don't worry, in a second you'll know only suffering and pain. A nice punishment considering all the wars and suffering you've caused, he said, looking down at Ares with dead cold eyes that freaked the god out. 6 normal-looking Naruto then stepped out of the walls, each holding Madara's gunbai or the Kusanagi. Naruto. Your first lesson begins now, he said with a snap of his fingers. All 6 clones then blurred towards Ares, who barely blocked the attack from 3 of the 6 clones. The other 3 managed to land their attacks, leaving 3 deep slashes on his arm. Ares, screaming in pain, turned around and stabbed one of the clones in the heart. He gained wide eyes when the clone melted into ice. He was then slashed across his back, making more of his blood spill onto the ice. He growling spun in a circle and managed to destroy all of the clones. Naruto, watching this, stomped his foot, and Ares was soon pelted with billions of ice needles that numbed the part of his body they touched. Ares gained wide eyes when 12 clones of Naruto now stepped out of the ice dome, all having 4 arms and a weapon in each hand. Naruto. Your second lesson begins now, he said, snapping his fingers again. Ares cursed hearing this and tried to shake the numbness off of himself, but reacted too late as 6 clones pounced on him and started to punish the god of war, making more of his blood spill into the dome. Outside of the dome, Annabeth was amazed, turned on and terrified all at once. She was amazed that Naruto had created something so masterful and elegant out of ice. She was turned on because Naruto's body was letting out pheromones that were hitting her full force and making her want to jump. Naruto's bones. She was terrified because the man she was in love with was proving himself to be a powerful being that wasn't afraid to fight. Percy was just plain out shitting himself. as the power Naruto was putting out would make even the mightiest monster whimper and run for cover. Grover was actually not afraid for some reason, almost as if he knew that Naruto would never use this power on him. The Aphrodite cabin at camp was up cheering for their brother, as he battled the god of war. Said god's cabin was worried for their father, except for Clarice, who was for some reason turned on watching her father be absolutely destroyed by Naruto. Apollo's cabin was wondering if Ares was going to win this fight or not. The Athena cabin was shocked at the power Naruto was showing and wondered if Annabeth being him was really a good idea. It was like this for most of the camp, except for Luke, who was very angry at the turn of events, as Percy was supposed to have died by now. With the gods, Hera was struggling to keep Nuabari by her side as apparently the sword had felt its master's power and wanted to return to his side instantly. She was also worried about how damp her panties were getting from just watching her son get the brutal beat down. Zeus was no longer pissed, but was very worried for the life of Ares as the power Naruto was putting out surpassed a titan with ease. He had also realized just how lucky Hercules was, as if Naruto had used this power on him, he would be down a son already. Athena was scraping her plans on just having sex with Naruto and leaving. No, now she wanted to marry him and have as many kids as he wanted, because what he was doing had turned her on so much. She could drown a child in her panties. Aphrodite knew for sure that she had to do everything within her power to get Naruto to forgive her, so she could get him to fuck her brains out and impregnate her. She was also rubbing her thighs together as, like Athena, she could most likely drown a child in her panties. Apollo was now in the same boat as Hermes and was already planning on the party for Naruto's ascension to godhood. Hell, he even knew what Naruto was going to be: the god of creation, destruction, chaos, sex, heroes, sky, earth, sea, war, and the end. Hermes was already getting ready to order to wine and entertainment for the epic party that was going to be Naruto's ascension. Hermes knew he was going to be so wasted at that party. Dionysus was laughing his red ass off at the ass-kicking Naruto was giving his arrogant brother Ares and couldn't wait for the party that Naruto was going to get for his ascension to godhood. Hephaestus was really excited to meet Naruto as the boy was getting rid of his biggest headache and making said headache look like a rabid dog that needed to be put down a long time ago. Poseidon was now wondering what he was going to wear to Naruto's ascension to godhood, as Ares was a dead man walking. Even he could tell that. Artemis, with Naruto's headband pressed closely to her chest, could literally hear her heart beating at 1,000,000 miles a minute, as there was no doubt within her mind that she was in love with Naruto and knew that sooner or later she would be having his children. She was also wondering when he was going to come for his necklace, as it was a part of his identity and what made him a ninja and a person. Hades in the underworld was impressed and terrified at the power of the young god known as Naruto. He, looking at his wife, also knew that soon he would be loosing her and she'd finally be free of the curse he placed on her so long ago. Tartarus thinking on that he should most likely get rid of that before she met Naruto, so that the young god didn't come after him. He shivered knowing that if Naruto did come after him, that battle would reshape the underworld and he'd lose. Persephone, licking her lips, wanted Naruto and wanted him bad. Ares, having managed to survive 12 rounds and defeated multiple clones of Naruto, was finally free of the Ice Temple of Doom and was thanking Zeus that he had managed to do so. He, landing on the ice-cold beach, turned and started to search for the real Naruto. Said person was sitting at the very top of his ice temple looking at Ares with boredom in his eyes. He, standing up, jumped down from his ice temple and landed directly in front of Ares, who snarled, spotting his target. "Ares, are you ready to die, brat?" he said shakily. Naruto simply looked at Ares and opened his gob. The chains them started to wrap around him and bind him to the beach, unable to move at all. "Ares, why use chains to tie me up when I could break out so easily?" he yelled arrogantly before trying and failing to break out. "Ares, what I see, he said before being cut off. Naruto, "Silence, dog. These aren't some ordinary chains. These are the chains of heaven, chains that have the ability to drain anyone of their energy, including gods. The more divine they're, the tighter they get." he said to the immediate fear of every god except Hephaestus, who was practically drooling over the craftsmanship and ability of the chains, and Athena, who was getting more and more horny and impressed at this boy's abilities. He then pointed his spear at Ares, who was now terrified at this being his final moments. Ares. No, 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 no. I will not die to a simple spear, he said, with his beard having gone normal and eyes now normal. Naruto. Oh, this is no ordinary spear. This is one of the most powerful weapon in existence. The spear of destiny, or Longinus. The spear that stabbed Jesus himself, giving it the powers of God. For example, it can kill other gods permanently, he said to Ares' horror and the other gods. Complete shock and fear as he could kill them permanently. The demigods were now a little scared, as one of their own could kill their parents so easily. Naruto. Oh, and know this, Ares. No pain, he said before throwing the spear at Ares' chest, making him bleed ichor and lose the light in his eyes, killing him for good. Naruto then shot an all-killing ashbone at Ares' body, disintegrating it, making sure he was gone for good. He then found Ares' soul and contained it in a jar for later use. The demigods were shocked at seeing the death of an actual god happen. Luke was scared, as this boy could kill both him and Kronos in short time. Annabeth looked towards Naruto and did something she would deny to her very last breath. She swooned at him. He then looked toward the pink barrier that was still up, dropped it. He dropped out of his power mode and walked up to Percy. He grabbed the master bolt and inspected it. Naruto. Maybe I should just take this and make the big baby live without it, or come and try to take it from me, he said to their horror as they spent all that time. Naruto. But I hate to be king of the gods, he said before tossing it back to Percy, but not without breaking a piece of it off. He, turning to look at Annabeth, smirked as she was still swooning at his little display. He, grabbing her face, pulled her into a kiss that made the daughter of Athena's left leg curl up behind her. Annabeth felt like she was in heaven and never wanted to leave. They kissed like this for about 5 minutes when a blushing Grover coughed. Naruto, ending the kiss, had a smirk on his face, while Annabeth had a healthy blush on her face. Naruto disconnecting himself from Annabeth, who whimpered. Naruto. Percy, make sure you don't lose that thing. Annabeth, I'll see you later. Grover, you did a good job. I have places to be, he said before vanishing in a burst of black doves to the shock of everyone watching. Annabeth. He's so dreamy, she said with hearts in her eyes from the pheromones still being there. Grover. We need to get moving, he said, rolling his eyes. Percy. Yeah, we should return the master bolt, he said, riling his eyes in jealousy. Chapter 6. The king meets the Olympians. After teleporting away, we see Naruto in New York City walking to the Empire State Building. He then walked in the building and down the lobby. He arrived at the front desk where there was a picture of the building behind it. He saw the guard at the desk and walked to it. Security guard. What do you need, sir? He said, not looking at the person in front of him. Naruto. Give me the card for the 600th floor, he said, not wanting to deal with this. Security guard. There's only 102 floors, sir, he said, looking up at Naruto. Naruto, not wanting to deal with this, summoned a Chidori and threw it by the guard's ear, making the mural behind him start to crack and explode at the top. The security guard fell on the floor in fear at him being killed by this boy who's holding lightning in his hand. Naruto. Give me the card now, he said calmly while holding his hand out with a bored expression on his face. The guard then shakily pulled it out of his pocket and handed it to him before passing out. Naruto. Weak, he said before walking to the elevator and inserting the card in the security slot. The elevator then started to go up super fast, with Naruto not really feeling anything with his arms crossed. The elevator then stopped and opened up. When he walked out, he saw Mount Olympus in all its glory. He then started walking with his hands in his pockets. The female nymphs, demigoddess, godlings, minor goddesses started to blush madly when they saw him walking to the throne room. The men were terrified as he just killed an Olympian god 5 minutes ago. Naruto was ignoring their reactions to him as he was looking around Olympus in boredom. He then arrived to the throne room. Naruto walked in and was met with all the Olympians sitting on their thrones. The Olympians were in uproar as Ares had just died and were trying to figure out on what to do as this had never happened before. The first to notice him was Hestia, who looked surprised that he was here. Zeus looked down as he heard Hestia's gasp and saw the boy who killed his son. He then raised his hand, which caught the god's attention. "Zeus. You," he said, pointing at Naruto, who looked bored. Naruto. "Yes, it's me. How dumb are you?" he said, making Apollo, Hermes, Hephaestus, Dionysus, and Poseidon start laughing like hyenas. Hera smirked at the comment to her husband's intelligence. Athena, Artemis, Demeter, Hestia, and Aphrodite snickered at the comment. Zeus. "Don't insult me, you impetuous brat. I should smite you for killing Ares," he said, angry about that. Naruto. "But you can't, lightning ass. Maybe it's because Chaos would be pissed that her champion was killed by you. Or that my death would start an uprising that would get rid of you for good," he said, making Zeus shut up with a pale face. Naruto. "Or you just fear me. Anyway, I'm here to give your wife something," he said to Hera's confusion.
Hera. What would you like to give me? Naruto. This, he said before opening his gates and dropping a jar in her hand.
Hera. Why give me an ancient Greek jar? It's flattering but nothing special, she said while smiling at the gesture, with the other goddesses jealous at her getting a gift from him. Naruto. Simple, look in the jar. Don't open it all the way, he said while sitting at Hestia's hearth. Hera did it as she knew he was fond of her. She opened it and saw something that made her feel a lot more happier than before. She then closed it and looked at Naruto with a tear of happiness going down her face. Hera. I thank you for this wonderful gift. For that you have my blessing, she said before waving her hand. Then a peacock appeared on his head. It disappeared as soon as it appeared. She then teleported to her palace as she had moved out of Zeus's palace years ago.
Naruto then smiled and turned to Zeus with an impassive look.
Naruto. Well, you look at that. It seems I can make your wife happy, unlike you, he said to the angry sky god.
Zeus. Shut up, you golden turd. My wife loves me more than you know. She adores me and is totally fine with all my decisions, he said while smirking and pointing his hand at his chest.
Naruto. Man, you're a horrible liar. Didn't your wife move out of your house and stop talking to you? He said, shocking the king of the gods as he didn't tell any mortal or minor god of that happening. Zeus. How do you know that? Naruto. You don't need to know that, he said, making Zeus get more frustrated at this boy. Zeus then jumped down from his throne in front of him.
Zeus. I challenge you to a fist fight, he said to the other god's surprise. Naruto simply looked at him with a perplexed look on his face. Naruto. Are you stupid or something? He said, making the sky god red with anger. Zeus. No, I'm not now, except mongrel, he said, not realizing the mistake he made.
Naruto. No one calls me mongrel and gets away with it, he said before using his speed and appearing behind Zeus' back. He moved so fast not even the gods could see. He appeared behind Zeus and chopped him on the neck, knocking him out. Naruto. Anyway, I'm here to tell you all one thing, he said to the gods, who were now intrigued. Naruto. As you know, I could kill you all if I wanted to, he said to the gods, who were now a little scared at that as he had just murdered one of their own. Naruto. So I just want you all to know, don't try and take my stuff or make me do any of your tasks. After all, not even the fates can control or see my future at all. I'm free to make my own choices without interference, he said while roasting a marshmallow over the hearth. The gods were very shocked as the fates had been above even them. Naruto was making a s'more for himself. He heard a stomach rumble next to him and saw that Hestia was looking at the s'more with drool going out of her mouth. Naruto. Here, you needed more than me, he said, handing it to her. Hestia. Thank you, she said before snatching and eating it like a hungry Saiyan to his surprise. Naruto then got up and started to walk towards Athena's throne. Naruto. Athena, mother to my favorite bookworm. I know you have a question for me. Ask away, he said to the blushing goddess. Athena. My question is one thing. Who's your father? We watched your conversation with Aphrodite and we are all curious on who your father is, she said, making his mother start to sulk on her throne and all the other gods get interested on who this person is. Naruto. I'll tell you all when Hades and Hestia get a throne in the council. If you really want to know, read the Bible, he said, making them disappointed at not knowing the question on their mind. Naruto then put his hand in his pockets and started to walk out of throne room. Before leaving though, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked at the hand and saw that it was his incubator's. He was disgusted and tried to remove her hand from his body. Naruto. What do you want, incubator of mine? Your eye, he said, annoyed at his incubator touching him. Aphrodite. No, I want to spend time with you, damn it. Naruto. Why, so you could fuck me? I can see that the middle of your dress is wet and that's definitely not pee, he said, trying to get out of this situation by embarrassing her. Aphrodite. No, I just want to spend time with you. Can't a mother spend time with her child? She said, making him freeze in his path. Naruto then turned his head around with his eyes being shadowed by his hair. Aphrodite. Please, Sochi, can you find it in your heart to forgive your mother? She looking at him with love in her eye. Naruto then pushed her away from with an angry expression on his face. Naruto. No, I will not forgive you. What you did was inexcusable. You left me behind in a pack of hyenas. You left me to be beaten, abused, and even raped. My need for a mother has long since passed, for she's already dead and gone. Perhaps I could forgive you as a person, but as a mother I could never forgive that, he said, making her start to tear up as she realized one thing. He hates her. He hates her as a mother and always will. The Olympians were at a loss of words as they just found out that the savior of the world's childhood was far more depressing than they thought it would be. Hestia was saddened as she was the goddess of family and could feel that their relationship as mother and son was broken and bad. To her it felt like she just got stabbed by Zeus' lightning bolt. Naruto. Though perhaps I could applaud you for trying. Perhaps we could hang out as two people rather than a mother and son, he said to her. Surprise. Aphrodite. I'd like that, Naruto, she said while giving him a small smile. Naruto. Well, don't get used to it, he said, looking away with a red tint on his face. Aphrodite wiped the tears off her face and walked back to her throne. Naruto was about to leave, but he had one more thing to say.
Naruto. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Kronos is rising from Tartarus, he said before using Kamui to leave.
Time skip 2 hours. Right now we see Naruto flying to Camp Half-Blood after taking care of business. When he landed in the camp, he saw that everyone was having a party celebrating the three since they returned the Master Bolt to Zeus. When he landed, he was met with a tackle from his favorite bookworm. Naruto. Hey bookworm, how you doing? Annabeth. Fine, before better that you're here now, she said before taking him to the party. When they arrived, everyone stopped and saw that Naruto himself was here at Half-Blood. The Aphrodite cabin immediately swarmed them both. They picked up Naruto and started to carry him around the camp, all the while cheering. Naruto was confused on why they were carrying him as he didn't know them all too well. Naruto. Why the hell are you holding me up here? Selena. It's called a celebration. Try and relax, brother. Everyone needs to chill out, even you. So come on and have some fun, she said, smiling at her older brother. Annabeth. Yeah, Naruto. Come on and have some fun with us, she said in the air with him. Naruto. Fine. Perhaps I could spare one day for fun, he said, sighing and scratching the back of his head.
The campers immediately started to party even more, with there being fireworks in the sky and King of Heroes now joining.
A little while later we see Naruto and Annabeth going to the cabin Naruto had built for himself. Naruto. So you really want to know my entire story from start to finish, he said with a neutral expression on his face. Annabeth. Yup, you promised me, and a promise on God himself, she said with a smirk on her face as he couldn't stop this promise. Naruto. Fine, but why are you bringing a tape recorder? You going to record this conversation for someone? Annabeth. I'm bringing it so you won't have to repeat over and over when someone tries to ask you. Don't worry, I won't give every person who asks the recording, only those you approve of. She said to his surprise. Naruto. That's cool, but who said I was gonna say this out loud? He said to her confusion. Annabeth. What do you mean, Naruto? Simple. Tsukuyomi, he said, having activated his M's in advance. She was then transported to destroyed village. They were standing in a distance. Annabeth. What is this place? Naruto. My birthplace, my original home. Konohagakure, or the Hidden Leaf Village, he said, looking at the Hokage rock.
Annabeth was shocked as she was taught that Konoha was in peace after Naruto disappeared in the 4th Great Ninja War.
Annabeth. This is where you were born. I was taught that it was in peace after you disappeared. Naruto. You're really gonna believe a book or the person who actually lived there? Anyways, it's time I tell you I am. Every single thing, he said before summoning Medusa in his mind. She was told on what was happening and entered her mind with him. Naruto. I shall tell you something that no one except Tsunade knows. Medusa. And what is that? Naruto. My father. Annabeth. Your father? I thought he was just a mortal named Minato. Namikaze. She said, confused, as his father was just a powerful mortal who got stabbed by the 9 tails. Naruto. No, my father was far more powerful than even the primordials, he said to their surprise. Medusa. Who was he? She said, now dying of curiosity. Naruto. My father was, he said, shocking and scaring them immensely as they just found out the object of their affection was the son of the most being in existence. Medusa. Himself? You're joking, right? You have to be? Naruto. Nope. He's my father, and I'm not human in any biological way, though my soul is more human than even I know, he said while looking at the village in ruins. Annabeth. Wait a second. If you're the son of an Aphrodite, does that mean you're the Antichrist, the one prophesied to destroy the world? She said, thinking of the elephant in the room. Naruto. Yes, I am, but I also have more to tell you, he said, making them surprised that wasn't the end. Annabeth. What else are you gonna tell us? How you have the spear of Longinus, something that's supposed to hurt your very nature, or the Holy Grail? The cup that Jesus himself blessed and touched, or the fact you grew wings on your back? Medusa. Or the fact that your village is completely destroyed, she said while looking at all the destruction and carnage. Naruto. One at a time. I have the holy stuff because God herself gave it to me on the day of my birth. She hid the cup and crown in locations inaccessible to anyone not worthy enough to get it. I've had the spear since I was born. The village is destroyed because this is what I wanted to be like, he said, remembering what she told him. Annabeth. Why'd she give it to you though? The son of her enemy, she said, confused on why God would do such a thing. Naruto. I don't know. Her plans are mysterious even to me, he said to the duo. With that, they continued to talk for another 30 minutes before he broke the genjutsu. Time skip. The next day, we see Naruto walking out of Camp Half-Blood when he felt something calling him. He sighed and walked to the signal and saw that it was a pine tree. He was confused as he felt a life force in the tree. He used Sage Mode and touched the tree. When he touched it, he closed his eyes and saw that a girl with black spiky hair, electric blue eyes and freckles across her face was laying on the ground with her eyes closed. He then took out a ball and threw it at her head, making her wake up and look up at the person who did that. She then blushed and started to act like a tsundere. Talia. Who the hell are you and why did you just throw a ball at my face? She said, rubbing her head. Naruto. My name is Naruto Uchiha, he said to her surprise as she heard of his legend from school. Talia. The Naruto Uchiha. The guy who saved the entire world, killed the Shinto god of creation, started a religion, and so much more. You're a legend, she said while getting in his face with stars in her eyes. Naruto. Didn't know you were a fan. So what's name? he said, already knowing the answer. Talia. Oh, my name is Talia, daughter of Zeus. Chapter 7. The Girl in the Tree, 3rd POV. Right now we see Naruto and Talia talking as she had just revealed who she is. Naruto then looked around and saw that he was in a realm that looked abstract and otherworldly.
Ignore God and man, Naruto. So where are we? He said, looking around and seeing that there's nothing at all.
Talia. We're in limbo, the realm between life and death, she said, looking at the weirdness resides there with hands in pockets. Naruto. Huh. Can you change the landscape by any chance? He said while poking a ball in the air. Talia then looked over at him with eyebrow raised up. Talia. Know that I know why? She said, sounding perplexed. Naruto. I think you can change the limbo you are residing in. All you need to do is to think hard of what you want and it will happen. Same thing is used in my world, where certain people can access their own mindscape and change it, he said, remembering his fellow Jinchuriki mindscape.
Talia took his advice and started thinking of something that was familiar. Then after few seconds of thinking, the place started changing into a black room with a few lamps, lights, red furniture and jazz music that is playing in background.
Choose whichever one you want, Talia. Thanks, Naruto, I can finally change things around here, she said, smiling at him.
Naruto. No problem, anytime. Now tell me why you're in a tree, he said, plopping down on a chair that was behind him.
She told him about her journey with Annabeth and Luke, how they were found by a satyr named Grover Underwood who tried to get them to Camp Half-Blood. Together, they traveled to Camp Half-Blood but chased by monsters from the underworld. Once they reached camp, a horde of monsters attacked and she sacrificed her life on Half-Blood Hill to protect Annabeth, Luke, and Grover. To prevent her soul from going to Hades, Zeus turned her into a pine tree.
Naruto. That was a very brave thing to do, for protecting your friends can make you gain strength. Like those human parents who lift cars when their child is trapped under there, he said, remembering reading a newspaper on that.
Talia. Well, thanks. At least those parents actually cared about their kids, she said, remembering her mother. Naruto. You also have a mommy issues, he said, somehow figuring out what she was thinking. Talia. How the Tartarus do you know what I'm thinking? You psychic? She said, confronting him on his powers. Naruto. Nope, it's just that I'm the protagonist, so I can pull as many abilities I want. The man upstairs gives me abilities that allow me to dominate this world and its pantheons, he said, confusing her on the man upstairs. Talia. Who the Tartarus are you talking about? Naruto. Let's just move on. Talia. Alright then, Blondie. Anyway, how's Annabeth, Grover, and Luke? Naruto. Well, Annabeth is spending time with her family and Grover is on his quest to find the goat-headed kid of Hermes. As for Luke, he said, making her confused on why he stopped talking. Talia. Why do you stop? What's wrong with Luke? Is he dead? She said, sounding sad at her friend's potential death. Naruto. He's alive and a traitor to your little summer camp, he said, making her shocked and in denial. Talia. That's not true. That's impossible, she said, sounding like a certain Joker-sounding Jedi. Naruto. It's true, he said, trying to hold in his laugh. Talia. Do you have any proof of this betrayal, or you total shit? She said, making him nod. Naruto simply held his hand out for her to touch, making her confused, but do it. She touched his hand and then all of a sudden she was hit with memories of Luke attacking Percy and revealing himself as the lightning thief. She then came back to reality with the proof being shown to her. Talia. Thoughts? He's a traitor. He stole my father's bolt and tried to start a war between the gods. But why? Naruto. He betrayed the gods over some petty revenge against his father, he said with a disappointed voice. Talia then started to smash the imaginary ground she made out of anger, cracking it as a result. Talia. I became a tree to save their lives and this is the thanks I get? She said. Punching the ground again, this time static electricity in her hands appearing out of nowhere. The ground then cracked again, breaking the room she had built for herself, taking them back to limbo. Talia was on the ground with bloody hands, somehow punching an illusion. The ground was cracked, her blood staining the floor. Naruto. Fate often has a funny way of messing with innocent people and making their life a living hell, he said with his hands in his pockets. Naruto proceeded to walk behind the teary-eyed girl and put his hand behind her back, making her surprised at the touch. Talia. Why do you care? This doesn't affect you in any way, yet you care? Naruto. I care because I understand your pain, your anguish, your misfortunes, how it feels to lose something you love, a neglectful childhood. I know all the pain you've gone through because I've gone through it, he said, bending down to her level. Talia turned her head towards him with tears in her eyes as she looked at him with a look of shock and anger on her face. Talia. If you know what I'm feeling, then how did you deal with it? She asked, curious. Naruto was about to answer her question when he nodded that he was fading away from purgatory. Naruto. Well, it seems like my time here is running out, he said, making Talia worried. Talia. What, you were going to give me the answer to the question? I had a whole more questions to ask you. Naruto. Well, tough tides. I guess I'll answer next time, he said, his hands behind his head. Talia. There's a next time? She said with a blush appearing on her face. Naruto. Well, yeah. What kind of man would I be if I just leave you here to rot? I mean, I can always get you out, he said, surprising her. Talia. Why, you can? Naruto. Why? He was about to say before being cut off.
Talia was sitting there on the ground blinking as he just disappeared right in front of her.
Talia. We then cut back to Naruto, who's finally returned to his body, was looking around annoyed at being kicked out of limbo. Naruto. Annoying but predictable. Anyway, let's get Talia out of the tree, he said with vigor. He then threw a kunai on the floor, activating an illusion that made it look like nobody was there. Naruto started to get all the things he needed. First, he reached into his cursed seal and pulled out the piece of the master bolt he stole. Then he summoned a dead Zetsu from Kaguya's old army. And finally he activated his Rinnegan and proceeded to put his hand on the tree. He then closed his eyes in order to get back to her. Naruto. Talia, it's me, it's M, he said before being cut off by a rock being thrown at his head. It went through his head. Talia. Right here, idiot, she said with a blank face. Naruto. He then floated down towards her, landing on the ground. He saw her face and she looked annoyed like he did 5 minutes ago. Talia. Good, you're back. Thought you weren't come back. So tell me how I'm gonna get out of here, she said in his face. Naruto. Grab my hand. Talia. Are you going to show me another memory? Naruto. Just grab it, after all I can always just leave you here to rot, he said, about to walk away. Talia. Alright, happy, she said before snatching his hand. Naruto. Very. Now hold on tight, he said before pulling her into his body. Talia. What are talking about? Naruto. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Talia. She was about to say before being cut off by suddenly blasting into purgatory. Naruto was smirking at this as he remembered her telling him that she was scared of heights. Talia was holding on for dear life, putting her head in his chest, sniffing his odor as result. Talia. Thoughts. He smells very nice, like a fresh hamburger of the grill. They flow through the weird realm, looking at the profoundly insane creatures and landscapes in the realm.
While flying, Naruto knew that something was following them. Being the
curious bloke, he has looked behind and saw a creature. A creature so hideous it made Zeus look good by comparison. Naruto. What the fuck? Talia. What is that? She said, holding on real tight. Naruto. Why the hell would I know? You've been here longer than I have. Talia. Well, deal with it, it's going to kill us. Naruto. Don't worry, I will, he said with a frown on his face. He proceeded to open the gate and shoot out weapons made specifically to kill eldritch beings. The beast screamed in pain as it was pierced by weapons from unknown worlds. The monster was thoroughly Swiss cheese and fell into the abyss of limbo, never to be seen again. The two resumed their flight, this time going even faster than before. Talia. Slow down, idiot, I don't want to die. Naruto didn't respond and simply knocked her soul out so he could get up there in peace and quiet. He proceeded to go at a much faster speed, making it look like he wasn't there. Naruto. All right, open Sesame, he said, making a portal open up in front of him. He then flew through the portal and landed back at the tree. He closed the portal, making sure that nothing got through. Naruto then proceeded to wake up and open his eyes. He looked in his hand and saw Talia's soul in his hand. He then got her soul and put it inside of the Zetsu body, making it start change its appearance to Talia's, only thing being she was naked. Naruto looked down and smirked at what he saw. He then proceeded to get the jar of lightning and place it on the middle of her chest. He proceeded to push it inside her chest to where her heart was supposed to be, but Zetsu, not having human functions, didn't have a heart. Naruto. Alright Talia, after this you'll be in a brand new body. And with that he uses the ability that made the sage of the six paths revered. Naruto. Banbutsu Sozo no Jutsu, he said, using the famous technique to give this new body life once again. There was a light that went throughout the body, and then Talia sat up, breathing heavily. She looked around at where she was and saw Naruto standing there with a neutral look on his face, his hands resting in his pockets and a backpack on his back. Talia. Why, you did it. I'm finally free. I'm free, she yelled before proceeding to run around the area, oblivious to the fact that she was naked. Naruto simply stood there watching with a smirk on his face, writing down some stuff in a familiar orange book. Tsunade suddenly got the urge to punch Naruto in the head. Talia finished running around and was about to jump on Naruto when he stopped her with his tail. Naruto. There should be a GIF or video here. Update the app now to see it. Talia. Why? After all, you freed me and deserve a reward for helping me. Naruto. First of all, I hate hugs, and second, you're naked and covered in sweat, he said, making her finally notice that her bits were out. Talia. Pervert, she yelled before punching him in the face, making him fall back on the floor. He simply got back up and dusted the grass of his clothes. Naruto. Yeah, I deserve that. I definitely deserve that.
Talia. Damn right you do. Naruto. Fine, here some clothes I have, he said, handing her some clothes he has.
Talia. Thanks. So, where y'all going? Naruto. None of your concern. Have fun with your new life, he said, taking his stuff and walking away. Talia. Hey, wait up, Naruto. What do you want now? Talia. Simple, I want you to train me, she said, pointing her fingers at him and then herself. Naruto. I don't take students anymore, he said, thinking about his last ones.
Talia. Come on Naruto, I've been in a tree for years and I've never been trained by anyone. Plus I kinda owe you a life debt. After all, you did save me from that thing, she said, making him think about it, and indeed she was right. Naruto. I guess you do. Alright, fine, I'll do it, but you mustn't do two things while I train you.
Talia. And those are? She said, eager to start. Naruto. Number 1, complain about the training I give you, and number 2, disobey my words. I'm the master here and you're the pupil. Got that? He said, making her nod with smile on her face. Talia. Sir, yes sir. Naruto smirked and opened a portal to his next location. He walked through with Talia at his back. She was about to step through when she looked back at her tree on Half-Blood Hill. Talia flipped of the tree with a smirk on her face and proceeded to walk in with the Uchiha, who might be regretting his decisions.